Good morning. Today we're going to carry on with our decimals learning, and today our learning objective is to make a whole. So we know we've not got one whole covered yet. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at how much of this whole one is covered. So you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths and 3 hundredths. So that means that we have 43 hundredths covered. 43 hundredths as a decimal would be 0.43. 4 tenths, 3 hundredths. 4 tenths, 3 hundredths. Now, what I want to know is what we need to add to make one whole. Now, if you know your number bonds to 100, you might be able to do this really, really quickly. Let's see. We've got 43 covered altogether. Let's cover the rest of this. So that was 7. Then let's do 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths. That was 5 tenths and 7 hundredths. So that would be 57 hundredths. And as a decimal, it would be 0.57. So we've got 43 hundredths add 57 hundredths equals one whole one. Or as a decimal, 0.43 add 0.57 equals one whole one. So we're going to look at another one here. Here we've got 3 tenths and 5 hundredths. So we've got 35 on the board covered all together. So that must mean 35 hundredths. As a decimal, that would be 0.35. And what we want to know is how many more do I need to cover to make one whole one. So whilst I'm doing this, maybe you can have a think about what your answer is going to be. Use your number bonds to 100 to make it easier. And let's see if you're correct. So let's cover in the rest of the board. Got some gaps there. Okay, so let's count what we've got so far. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths and 5 hundredths, which means this is 65 hundredths. And this must be 0.65. Now, some of you may have noticed a little trick that you can use. Because we're looking at hundredths, what you can do is use your number bonds to 100. So here we had 35. So what do you need to add to 35 to make 100? You need to add 65. What you could do in your head, you could do a little number line like this. So 100 would go here. And then to get to the next 10, you need to add 5 to land on 40. And then to get from 40 all the way to 100, you had to add 60. So you can see that you added 65 altogether. And if you're looking at decimals, again, it's the same. You've got 0.35, so it's 35, and 65 equals 100 hundredths, or one whole one. So let's look at an example of your challenges today. So this question is an example of what you can expect from challenge 2. So we've got 0.7. So we need to find what we add to 0.7 to make one whole one. And our answer will go here. So some of you may know that already. But to visualize that, what you can do is you can make 0.7. Now be very careful. 0.7, the digit 7 is in the tenths column. So you would need to make 7 tenths. 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we've made 0.7 now. So now you can see what we've got left to make one whole one is 3 tenths. And to write 3 tenths as a decimal, you would write 0.3. And again, you can use your number bonds. 7 add 3 is 10, and one whole one is the same as 10 tenths. Challenge 2 gets a little bit more difficult when you've got a problem like this. And here you need to be very careful, and you need to know the difference between tenths and hundredths. So first of all, let's just start with our hundredths. We've got 6 hundredths. I know it's hundredths because it's 2 places, 1, 2, after the decimal point. So let's put those 6 hundredths in. There's my 6 hundredths. And now I'm going to put my 5 tenths in. I know it's tenths because it's 1 place value column after my decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to find my answer, I need to find out how many is uncovered. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4. So my answer was 0.4 tenths and 4 hundredths. Now, if we add all these together, they will make one whole one. Now, you can use 100 square to help you, but the other thing that you could do is to show your working out. So I'm just going to show you one more example. So again, this is another example from challenge 2 where it's a little bit more difficult. And I'm going to show you how you can work this out without using your 100 square. The 100 square definitely helps, but some of you might want to do it without. So here we've got 7 tenths and we've got 4 hundredths. So as a fraction, that would be 7 tenths, 4 hundredths. That would be 74 out of 100, 74 hundredths. We don't know what this number is, but we know it equals one whole one, which is the same as 100 hundredths. So thinking back to our number bonds, what do I need to add to 74 to make 100? Let's draw a little number line here. 74. And I need to add something to get all the way to 100. So I need to add 6 to get to 80. And then I need to add 20 to get to 100. So I added 26 altogether. So my answer is 26 hundredths. Now you'll notice that you'll need to put your answer as a decimal. But you should know by now that 26 hundredths as a decimal is 0.26.